This happened in 1989. I was 6 years old, and I remember everything. My grandparents owned a farmhouse in the Scottish Highlands, a gray stone building that sat alone at the base of a hill called Knockdhu, the Black Hill. The locals avoided speaking its name after dark. Every Christmas Eve, our family gathered there, my parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and 2 neighbor brothers with their children. We always got along well. The farmhouse was large enough to hold us all, and it smelled of peat smoke, pine, and something older, something that seeped from the stones themselves. That night, the adults played music on an old radio. They drank whiskey and talked too loud while we children slept on blankets in the living room. The fire crackled low in the corner, and outside, the Highland wind moaned against the windows. Near midnight, my aunt shook us awake.
"Father Christmas is here," she whispered. "He is in the courtyard."
We ran outside into the cold. There he stood, red suit, white beard, arms full of wrapped packages. He turned and opened his arms wide. We rushed to him, hugging him, telling him everything we wanted. I know now it was one of the neighbor brothers. He was a large man, and the suit fit him well. But that night he was real. We were laughing, reaching for gifts, when the screaming started. It came from Knockdhu, from somewhere up in those black trees where no path led. A man's voice, or something like a man's voice. It rose and fell in waves of agony, echoing across the valley. But there was something wrong with it. The scream lasted too long. No human has that much breath.
The adults moved fast. The radio went silent. The outdoor lamp died. Then the kitchen light. Then the hallway. Inside, my father hissed, "Everyone inside now!" We were pulled through the back door and pushed into my grandparents' bedroom, the farthest room from the road. Father Christmas ran in with us, tearing off his beard. His face was pale and slick with sweat. "Quiet," my uncle whispered, "not a sound." Through the walls I heard it, heavy footsteps on the dirt road outside. Not human footsteps, too heavy, too uneven. And between the screams, I heard something else. Names. The thing was calling out names. We never spent Christmas Eve at that farm again. Within 2 years, my grandparents sold it. I was 23 when I finally asked my uncle what we hid from that night. He looked at me for a long moment before answering. "It was not a man," he said. "It walked on 4 legs, the size of a horse or a donkey, but it screamed like a person being torn apart, and it called out names of people from the village below." I asked him how they knew to hide. "Your grandparents," he said. "They saw it once, decades ago. They called it the devil on the hill. They did not know what it was or what it wanted, only that when you hear it coming, you hide. You make no sound. You show no light." He paused. "And you pray it does not call your name."
The farmhouse is gone now, torn down years ago, but Knockdhu still stands. The trees are still there, older than the village, older than memory. I have never gone back. I never will. But sometimes on the longest nights of winter, I dream of that Christmas Eve. I dream of hiding in the dark, clutching Father Christmas while something screamed past our door. And in the dream, just before I wake, it stops. It stops right outside, and it calls my name.
This happened more than 25 years ago. I was 9, my sister was 7. Every December, our grandmother held a vigil at her cottage in the Austrian Alps, a small stone house that sat alone at the edge of a valley called Dunkelstall, the Dark Valley. She lit candles on the eve of St. Barbara's feast and kept them burning through the following day. It was an old tradition, she said, a way to welcome the season and honor those who had passed. That year, our parents left us with her for the night. We helped arrange the candles on a wooden table in the living room, dozens of them, white and yellow, each placed on a clay dish with cups of water nearby. The flames flickered in the cold drafts that crept through the walls. The cottage smelled of pine resin and melting wax. Outside, the mountains were silent under fresh snow. My sister woke me near midnight. She had gone to the bathroom and returned pale, her hand gripping my arm. "Antonio," she whispered, Though that was not my name then, not here. Come look. I followed her through the cottage. She moved slowly, pressing a finger to her lips. We crouched low, creeping past our grandmother's closed door until we reached the doorway between the kitchen and the living room. She pulled me to the edge of the frame. "Do you see them?" she asked. I saw them.
2 figures stood beside the candle table. Small figures, children. A girl, perhaps 5 years old. A boy, 2 or 3 at most. They stood motionless, facing the flames. Their clothes looked old, worn wool and faded cotton, the kind you see in photographs from a century past. I could not see their eyes. The candlelight should have shown them, but their faces held only shadow where eyes should be. The boy leaned forward. He blew softly at one of the candles. The flame bent, flickered, but did not die. He laughed. I saw his mouth open, his shoulders shake, but no sound came out. The girl joined him. Together they blew at the candles, one after another. The flames danced and shrank. My sister whispered against my shoulder, "Should we tell grandmother?" Before I could answer, they turned.
We ran to her room. My sister was crying. I could barely speak.
"Grandmother," she gasped, "the ghosts blew out the candles. We did not do it."
Our grandmother rose from her bed faster than I had ever seen her move. She walked to the living room. My sister followed. I stayed frozen in the doorway. I heard the click of a lighter, the soft words of a prayer. One by one, the candles returned to life. When they came back, grandmother sat us on her bed. Her face was calm but serious. She told us that lost souls sometimes seek the light. They want to rise, to find peace. The candles guide them. But others, she paused, others want only darkness. They blow out the flames because the light burns them. Those children were not seeking salvation. From that December forward, she always placed a wooden crucifix beside her candles. She died 2 years later. We never asked her, and I still wonder how she knew from her bedroom the exact moment the candles went out. Some questions have no answers. Some darkness has no end. We ran to her room. My sister was crying. I could barely speak.
"Grandmother," she gasped, "the ghosts blew out the candles. We did not do it."
Our grandmother rose from her bed faster than I had ever seen her move. She walked to the living room. My sister followed. I stayed frozen in the doorway. I heard the click of a lighter, the soft words of a prayer. One by one, the candles returned to life. When they came back, grandmother sat us on her bed. Her face was calm but serious. She told us that lost souls sometimes seek the light. They want to rise, to find peace. The candles guide them. But others, she paused, others want only darkness. They blow out the flames because the light burns them. Those children were not seeking salvation. From that December forward, she always placed a wooden crucifix beside her candles. She died 2 years later. We never asked her, and I still wonder how she knew from her bedroom the exact moment the candles went out. Some questions have no answers. Some darkness has no end.
This happened the day after New Year's Eve. I was 22 years old. My family always celebrated at my Aunt Margit and Uncle Helmut's farmhouse in the Bavarian countryside, an old stone building near a village called Graufeld. The house had 2 floors. The adults stayed downstairs. We cousins always gathered upstairs to escape the noise. When I arrived that evening, I asked where my cousins were. Aunt Margit waved toward the stairs. "They must be up there," she said, "in the bedroom. Go on."
I climbed the wooden staircase. Each step groaned under my weight. At the top, a small landing connected 3 doors: my cousin's room, my aunt and uncle's room, and the bathroom. All 3 doors stood open. All the lights were off. I could see into each room. Empty. No one was up here. But I walked toward my cousin's bedroom anyway, thinking maybe they were watching a film in the dark. I reached the doorway.
The room was dark. Only faint light came through the window, enough to see the shape standing in the center of the room. A woman, her back to me. She wore a thin nightgown, long and sleeveless. Her body was too thin, the kind of thin that looks wrong, sick. Her hair hung just past her shoulders, tangled and unwashed. Her hands were at her sides, clenched into fists. She was speaking.
At first, I could not hear the words. Then they grew louder. The voice was deep, too deep for a woman. It rumbled from somewhere below her throat, like stones grinding together. And the words were wrong. They came out twisted, reversed, like a recording played backward. I stood frozen in the doorway. My legs would not move. My mouth would not open. Then I heard my cousins downstairs. "We are here," one of them called. "We brought what you asked for." I turned and walked down the stairs. I tried to look calm. I failed. At first, I could not hear the words. Then they grew louder. The voice was deep, too deep for a woman. It rumbled from somewhere below her throat, like stones grinding together. And the words were wrong. They came out twisted, reversed, like a recording played backward. I stood frozen in the doorway. My legs would not move. My mouth would not open. Then I heard my cousins downstairs. "We are here," one of them called. "We brought what you asked for." I turned and walked down the stairs. I tried to look calm. I failed.